The story opens in a picturesque suburban neighborhood in Oregon. Maya, a 12-year-old girl adopted as a baby, had always felt special in the Collins household. Grace and Michael treated her like the center of their world, showering her with love and attention. But everything changed when Michelle, their biological son, was born. Suddenly, Maya's life became a series of not nows and maybe laters. Her once bright smile dimmed as she watched Grace and Michael devote themselves entirely to their newborn. Maya's loneliness grew unbearable. At school, she kept to herself, and at home, the warmth she once felt seemed to vanish. To cope, she began writing letters to her parents. Each one was filled with raw, unfiltered emotions, her longing to feel loved again, her fears of being forgotten, and her frustration at feeling like an outsider in her own family. She never intended to send the letters. Instead, she stored them in a wooden chest under her bed, a secret repository for the pain she couldn't express aloud. One afternoon, Maya's best friend Lily came over for a sleepover. Curious and ever the explorer, Lily found the chest while looking for snacks under Maya's bed. "What's this?" Lily asked, holding one of the letters. Maya's face turned pale as she snatched it away. "Nothing, just some silly stuff I wrote." But Lily persisted, and Maya reluctantly let her read one. "This isn't silly, Maya. It's heartbreaking. They need to see this." Lily's words lingered in Maya's mind long after Lily went home, but fear held her back. What if her parents got angry? What if they ignored her again? Unbeknownst to Maya, one of the letters had slipped out of the chest. A few days later, Grace found it while cleaning. Sitting in the nursery with Michelle asleep in her arms, she read the letter, her heart sinking with every word. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she realized the depth of her daughter's pain. Maya's words struck her like thunder. For the first time in months, she realized how distant she and Michael had become from their daughter. That night, Grace showed the letter to Michael. His face fell as he read it, guilt washing over him. "We need to talk to her," Grace said, her voice cracking. Michael nodded but hesitated. "We've been so focused on Michelle. How could we let this happen?" Meanwhile, Maya, unaware her letter had been found, continued writing. The act of putting her emotions on paper became her solace, her only way of coping. But her loneliness deepened as she misinterpreted her parents' quiet reflection as indifference. One evening after dinner, Grace and Michael sat Maya down in the living room. Grace held the letter gently, as if it might shatter in her hands. "Maya, we found this," she began softly. Maya's eyes widened and her heart raced. "You read it?" she asked, her voice a mix of anger and fear. "We did," Michael admitted. "And we're sorry, Maya. We didn't realize how much we've been neglecting you." But Maya wasn't ready to forgive. Tears streamed down her face as she shouted, "You only care because you found the letter. You don't love me like you love Michelle." She ran to her room, slamming the door behind her. Grace and Michael were left speechless, unsure of how to reach their daughter. In the following days, they tried to bridge the gap, inviting Maya to help with family activities, asking her opinion, and carving out moments to spend with her alone. But their efforts felt forced, and Maya remained distant. Desperate to understand her, Grace turned to Lily for help. Lily, though hesitant to betray Maya's trust, eventually revealed the existence of the other letters. "She keeps them all in a chest under her bed. They're really emotional," Lily admitted. That night, Grace and Michael read every letter. Each one revealed a piece of Maya's soul, the pain of being sidelined, the fear of being unworthy, and the love she still held for them despite it all. The letters painted a vivid picture of a girl yearning for her family's embrace. Realizing that words wouldn't be enough, Grace and Michael planned something special. They decided to revisit one of Maya's happiest memories, a family trip to the coast where they'd built sandcastles and laughed until sunset. When they surprised Maya with the trip, she was skeptical. "Why now?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Because we owe you, Maya," Michael said, "and because we love you." Maya reluctantly agreed, but the trip didn't unfold as planned. Miscommunications and lingering tension led to more arguments. Maya felt like her parents were trying too hard to fix something they didn't fully understand. It wasn't until an unexpected incident, a wave sweeping Michelle's stuffed animal into the ocean, that things began to shift. Maya, without hesitation, sprinted into the freezing water to retrieve the toy. Soaked and shivering, she handed it back to her tearful baby brother. Grace and Michael watched in awe, realizing how deeply Maya cared for Michelle, despite everything. Later that evening, around a campfire, Maya finally opened up. "I don't hate him," she confessed, staring into the flames. "I just miss feeling like I matter to you." Grace pulled her into a tight hug. "You do matter, Maya, more than you'll ever know." For the first time, she let her parents' embrace linger, allowing herself to feel the love she had doubted for so long. But the words she needed to say were still tangled inside her. The following day, Grace and Michael decided to involve Maya more directly in Michelle's world. "You're his sister," Grace said, handing Maya a bottle for Michelle's feeding. "We want him to grow up knowing how lucky he is to have you." At first, Maya hesitated. Caring for Michelle felt like admitting defeat, as if she were conceding that her parents' love would always revolve around him. But when Michelle reached for her finger, giggling softly, something shifted. Maya saw not competition, but an innocent baby who had no idea of the turmoil swirling around him. Back home, things were far from perfect. Maya still felt like she was on the outside looking in. But one evening, while helping Grace with dinner, she blurted out, "Why did you adopt me?" The question caught Grace off guard, and for a moment she was silent. "Because we wanted you," Grace said finally, her voice firm. "We loved you before we even met you, and we still do. But now you have him," Maya whispered, her eyes cast downward. "And we have you," Grace replied, kneeling to meet Maya's gaze. "Families grow, Maya. Love grows. It doesn't replace, it multiplies." That night, as Maya tucked Michelle into his crib, Michael entered her room holding a small box. Inside were all her letters, carefully preserved. "We didn't want to hide these from you," he said. "Your words matter, Maya, and we're ready to listen anytime you need to share them." Maya's heart softened, but a part of her still felt fragile, like the connection could break at any moment. She began to test the waters, speaking up when she felt left out or unseen. To her surprise, her parents responded, not perfectly, but earnestly. One day, as Maya helped Michael set up a family photo, she noticed something new on the wall. It was a collage of memories: her adoption day, birthdays, holidays, and finally, a photo of her holding Michelle at the beach. In bold letters it read, "The Collins family." Maya stood frozen, tears welling up in her eyes. Michael placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not just part of this family, Maya. You're its heart." Her walls began to crumble. "I don't want to feel invisible anymore," she said quietly. "You won't," Grace promised, joining them. "Not ever again." It was a pivotal moment. Maya wasn't healed completely, but for the first time, she believed things could get better. As weeks passed, Maya's heart gradually began to open. The ache of rejection was still there, lingering in the background, but now it was met with a growing understanding that her place in the family wasn't conditional on her being the only child. Slowly, she found herself having more moments with Grace and Michael. Moments of quiet connection that weren't about fixing anything, but simply being present. Grace and Michael, too, were changing. They learned to balance their attention between their two children, making sure that Maya felt seen and heard. They began making small, intentional gestures, calling her into the kitchen to help cook dinner, asking her opinion on family decisions, and spending one-on-one time with her. It was in these small, everyday acts of love that Maya began to feel like she truly belonged again. One afternoon, while Maya was sitting in her favorite spot by the window, she saw Grace and Michael playing with Michelle in the backyard. She watched as Michelle giggled, his small hands reaching out for Maya to join in. For the first time, Maya didn't feel threatened by Michelle's presence. She felt something else, compassion, a deep understanding that he wasn't the enemy, but her brother, the little one she had longed to protect and love. That evening, while Maya was sitting at the dinner table, Grace caught her eye. "Maya," she said softly, "I want you to know something. You're more than enough. We are so proud of you." Maya looked down at her plate, a warm smile tugging at her lips. She wasn't sure she fully believed it yet, but she was beginning to. Maya had always been the quiet one, holding her feelings inside, but now she was learning to speak her truth. One night, as the family gathered in the living room, she opened up to Grace and Michael. "I was scared," she admitted. "Scared that if I wasn't perfect you wouldn't love me. Scared that I'd be replaced." Grace took Maya's hand. "Sweetheart, love doesn't work that way. You were never second to us. We've always loved you. Always will." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of those words sink in, and for the first time she could breathe easy. It wasn't a fairy tale resolution, and the road wasn't always smooth. There were still moments of doubt, and sometimes Maya still felt like the third wheel. But she had learned something invaluable. Love was not a finite resource. It didn't need to be earned. It simply needed to be given and received. And Maya had learned that she was worthy of that love. At the same time, Grace and Michael began to understand that adoption wasn't a fix. It wasn't a quick solution to their desire for a family. It was a commitment that required ongoing care, attention, and understanding. They had to be deliberate in showing Maya that their love for her wasn't something that could be taken away. One evening, while Maya was playing with Michelle in the living room, Grace and Michael exchanged a knowing glance. They were getting better at this, at being a family. And they knew that they'd have to keep working at it, keep building and rebuilding their relationships with Maya, one small moment at a time. As the months went by, Maya's confidence grew. She was no longer the quiet, reserved girl hiding in the background. She had found her voice, and it was louder, stronger, and more assertive than ever before. Her relationship with Michelle, who had once been an innocent bystander in her emotional world, became one of mutual understanding and respect. Michelle, who had always looked up to Maya, began to open up to her in ways he hadn't before. He would come to her for advice on school projects, relationships, and even how to deal with the overwhelming pressure he felt to be perfect. Maya, always the supportive older sister, found herself stepping into the role of mentor, something she never thought she would do. "How do you always stay so calm?" Michelle asked one evening, his eyes wide with curiosity. Maya chuckled. "I don't always stay calm, but I've learned that sometimes you just have to let things happen and trust that you can handle whatever comes your way." Michelle nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe you should teach me that." "Deal," Maya replied with a smile. One day, Maya was approached with an exciting opportunity. A scholarship to attend a prestigious school in another city had been offered to her, and it was an offer she couldn't refuse. It was a chance for her to grow, to expand her horizons, and to challenge herself in ways she hadn't before. The decision wasn't easy. She had become so close to Grace, Michael, and Michelle, but Maya knew it was the right one for her future. The night she made her decision, Maya sat down with Grace and Michael. They were both silent at first, waiting for her to speak. When she finally did, her voice was steady but full of emotion. "I got the scholarship," Maya said, her heart pounding in her chest. "That's incredible, Maya," Michael exclaimed, a huge grin spreading across his face. "I don't want to go, but I think I need to," Maya confessed. "I need to see what else is out there, you know." Grace reached over, placing her hand gently on Maya's. "We'll always be here for you, no matter where you go, and we're so proud of you for taking this step." Maya smiled, her eyes welling with tears. "I'll miss you both. I'll miss Michelle, but I know I have to do this." Grace smiled warmly. "We know, and we'll be right here cheering you on." Maya's new life in the city was everything she had hoped for, and more. She found herself surrounded by new friends, new ideas, and new experiences. It was a thrilling, sometimes overwhelming journey of self-discovery. Maya quickly learned that she wasn't defined by her past. She was defined by what she chose to do with her present and future. As the months passed, Maya began to thrive in ways she never expected. She excelled in her classes, joined new clubs, and even started a small support group for students who, like her, had struggled with feelings of isolation and self-doubt. Maya's strength became a beacon for others who needed someone to look up to. But even as she flourished in her new environment, she never forgot where she came from. She called home often, checking in with Grace, Michael, and Michelle. It became a regular routine, hearing their voices, feeling their presence, even if it was just over the phone. Years later, when Maya had graduated and achieved everything she set out to do, she returned home, not as a lost girl trying to find her place, but as a confident, accomplished woman who had rediscovered the meaning of family. When she walked through the door, Grace, Michael, and Michelle were waiting for her, their faces lighting up in pure joy. "We knew you could do it," Michael said, wrapping her in a big hug. Maya smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you." The family was no longer just a collection of people with shared memories. They were a team, stronger than ever and more connected than they had ever been. Maya realized that family wasn't just about blood. It was about the love and effort they put into each other's lives every single day. And with that realization, Maya knew that no matter where life took her, she would always have a place to call home, right here, with the people who had been by her side all along.